Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtuprayeshu Patreshu Nityam Bhaktasevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 39, Akrura's Vision, text number 19 onwards. So yesterday we studied how Akrurji came to take Krishna and Balram to Mathura. Krishna and Balram agreed to go with him, and they got everyone, Nand Baba and other cowherd boys and Gopas, to go with them. And Krishna and Balram are on Akrura's chariot, as we can see in the background. But the gopis, they were like, how can he go? We're going to miss him. They're completely in separation, talking to each other. And finally, we'll study, but they decided to stop the chariot of Akrurji. They said, forget about all our modesty and shyness. We have to stop him from going. Text 19. Shri Gopya Uchu Aho Vidhat Tastav Natvachid Daya Samyojya Maitreya Pranayen Dehna Tanscha Kritarthana Vyunkya Partakam Vikriditam Te Arbhaka Cheshtitam Yatha. The gopis said, O Providence, you have no mercy. You bring embodied creatures together in friendship and love, and then senselessly separate them before they fulfill their desires. This whimsical play of yours is like a child's game. Yastvam pradarshit sit kuntalavritam kundavaktram sukapola mandasam shokapanod smitalesha sundaram paroshi parokshya asadhu te kritam. Having shown us Mukunda's face framed by dark locks and beautified by his fine cheeks, raised nose and gentle smiles, which eradicate all misery, you are now making that face invisible. This behavior of yours is not at all good. Krurastvam akrura samakhyaya svanash chakshuri dattam harase batagyavat yeneka deshe akhil sarga soshtavam Tvadiyam Drakshma Vayam Madhudvisha. O Providence, though you come here with the name Akrura, you are indeed cruel. So Akrura means who is not cruel, but Gopi is saying you are indeed more cruel. For like a fool, you are taking away what you once gave us. Those eyes with which we have seen, even in one feature of Lord Madhudvisha's form, the perfection of your entire creation. The gopis did not care to see anything but Krishna. Therefore, if Krishna left Vrindavan, their eyes would have no function. Thus, Krishna's departure was blinding these poor girls, and in their distress, they berated Akrura, whose name means not cruel, as cruel indeed. Nananda sonu kshana bhanga sohrita samikshate na swakrita turabat Vihaya gehan sujanan sutana patinsa tadasya madhopagata navapriya. Alas, Nanda's son who breaks loving friendships in a second will not even look directly at us. Forcibly brought under his control, we abandoned our homes, relatives, children, and husbands just to serve him. But he's always looking for new lovers. Now they're putting the blame on Krishna. Sukham prabhata rajaniya mashisha satya babhuvu puryoshitam dhruvam yasam privashtasya mukham rajaspate partha pasyantyupa pangot kalit smitasavam. They're saying, the gopis are saying, oh, we are village girls. The dawn following this night will certainly be auspicious for the women of Mathura. Oh, All their hopes will now be fulfilled, for as the Lord of Braja enters the city, they will be able to drink from his face the nectar of the smile emanating from the corners of his eyes. Tasa mukundo madhu manju bhashita grihita chitta parvan manasveapi katham punarna pratiyasyate abala gramya salajja smita vibhramer brahman. O gopis, although our Mukunda is intelligent and very obedient to his parents, when he has fallen under the spell of the honey-sweet words of the women of Mathura and been enchanted by their alluring shy smiles, how will he ever return to us unsophisticated village girls? So they are saying all these city girls of Mathura, they'll just capture Krishna. He will not come back to us. Adya dhruvam tatra drisho bhavishyate dasharha bhojan vrishni satvatam mahotsava shri ramanam gunaspadam drakshanti ye chadhvani devaki sutam. When the Dasharas, Bhojas, Andaks, Vrishnis, and Satvatas see the son of Devaki in Mathura, they will certainly enjoy a great festival for their eyes, as will all those who see him traveling along the road to the city. After all, he is a darling of the goddess of fortune and the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Metat vidhasya karunasya nama bhud akrur iti etat ativ darunah yosavanashvasya sudukhitam vajanam priyat priyam neshyati param dhvana. He who is doing this merciless deed should not be called Akrura. He is so extremely cruel that without even trying to console the sorrowful residents of Raja, he is taking away Krishna, who is more dear to us than life itself. Anardra dhiresha samastito ratham tamanvami cha tvarayanti dharmata gopano bhistha virarupekshitam devam cha noadya pratikulam ihate. Hard-hearted Krishna has already mounted the chariot, and now the foolish cowards are hurrying after him in the bullock carts. Even the elders are saying nothing to stop him. Today fate is working against us. Srila Siddha Swami reveals what the gopis thought. These foolish coward men and elders are not even trying to stop Krishna. Don't they realize they're committing suicide? They're helping Krishna go to Mathura, but they will have to come back to Vrindavan and will certainly die in his absence. The whole thing has become, the whole world has become nonsensical. The gopis are saying, we're the only ones who can think properly. They are not even stopping Krishna. Not stopping, they're hurrying him. Okay, let's go. Nivarayama samapete madhavam kim no akarishan kulavriddha bandhava buddha sangani nimashartha dustyajada devin vidvasita dina chetasam. Let us directly approach Madhava and stop him from going. What can our family elders and other relatives do to us? Now that fate is separating us from Mukunda, our hearts are already wretched. So we cannot bear to give up his association even for a fraction of a second. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes what the gopis thought. Let us go right up to Krishna and pull at his clothes and hands and insist that he get down from his chariot and stay here with us. We'll tell him, don't bring upon yourself the sinful reaction for murdering so many women by not being present with us. But if we do that, said the gopis, our relatives and our village elders will discover our secret love for Krishna and abandon us. But what can they do to us? The gopis might have said. Yes, our lives are already wretched now that Krishna is leaving. We have nothing to lose. That's right, we will remain in Vrindavan forest like the presiding goddesses And then we can fulfill our true desire to stay with Krishna in the forest. Yes, and even if the elders and other relatives punish us by beating us or locking us up, we can still live happily with the knowledge that Krishna is residing in our village. Some of our girlfriends who are not imprisoned will cleverly find a way to bring us the remnants of Krishna's food, and then we can remain alive. But if Krishna is not stopped, we will certainly die. So all this planning is going on in their minds. यस्यानुराग ललित स्मित वल्ग मंत्र लीलावलोक परिरंभ रास गोष्ठां नीतास्मन्नः क्षणमेव क्षणदा विनातं गोप्य कथम नवति तरेम तमो दुरंतम. When he brought us to the assembly of the Ras dance, where we enjoyed his affectionate and charming smiles, his delightful secret talks, his playful glances, and his embraces, we passed many nights as if they were a single moment. O gopis, how can we possibly cross over the insurmountable darkness of his absence? For the gopis, a long time in Krishna's association passed like a moment, and a single moment in his absence seemed like a very long time. So, this is the nature of relationship. Single moment in the absence seems like a very long time. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Yuga itam nimeshena chakshusha. Yuga, as if a nimesh is a blinking of an eye. And that much time seems like a yug. And yug could mean 12 years, and yug could mean a very, very long time. In his absence and in his presence, even a long time seems like a moment. Yona kshaya vrajam ananta sakha parito gopar vishan khur rajash churitalak srik venum kwanan smit kataksh nirikshanena chittam kshinoti amumrite nu katham bhavet. How can we exist without Ananta's friend Krishna, who in the evening would return to Braja in the company of the cowherd boys, his hair and garland powdered with the dust raised by the cow's hooves? As he played his flute, he would captivate our minds with his smiling, sidelong glances. Shri Shukavacha, Evam Bruvana Virhatura Bhrasham Rajastriya Krishna Vishakta Manasa Visrijya Lajjam Rurudu Smasuswaram Govinda Damodar Madhaviti. Shukdev Goswami said, after speaking these words, the ladies of Braj, who were so attached to Krishna, felt extremely agitated by the imminent separation from him. They forgot all shame and loudly cried out, O Govinda, O Damodar, O Madhav. For a long time, the gopis had carefully hidden their conjugal love for Krishna. But now that Krishna was leaving, the gopis were so distressed, they could no longer hide their feelings. Strinam evam rudantinam udite savitar yatha akrurash chodaya amasa krita matra dikoratham. But even as the gopis cried out in this way, Akrura, having at sunrise performed his morning worship and other duties, began to drive the chariot. According to some Vaishnava authorities, Akrura offended the gopis by not consoling them when he took Krishna to Mathura. And because of this offense, Akrura was later forced to leave Dwarka and be separated from Krishna during the episode of the Shamantak jewel. So that episode will come later on in this Bhagavatam 10th canto. At that time, Akrura had to take up an ignoble residence in Varanasi. Apparently, Mother Yashoda and the other residents of Vrindavan were not crying like the gopis, for they sincerely believed Krishna would be coming back just within a few days. And this is what Krishna told them, I'll be back in a few days. That's it. But Those few days were really long time. Gopastam Anvasajjanta Nandadya Shakatastataha Adayo Payanam Puri Kumbhan Gorasa Samritan. Led by Nand Maharaj, the cowherd men followed behind Lord Krishna in the wagons. The men brought along many offerings for the king, including clay pots filled with ghee and other milk products. Gopyasha Daitam Krishnam Anuvrajya Anuranjita Pratyadesham Bhagavataha Kangshantyashvachavastitire. With his glances, Lord Krishna somewhat pacified the gopis, and they also followed behind for some time. Then, hoping he would give them some instruction, they stood still. Tasata tapyatirviksha swaprasthane yaduttamaha santvayamasa premer ayasya iti dotyakahe. As he departed, that best of the Yadus saw how the gopis were lamenting, and thus he consoled them by sending a messenger with his loving promise, I will return. Yavada lakshate ketur, yavad renu rathasya cha anuprasthapita atmano lekhya nivopalakshita. Sending their minds after Krishna, the gopis stood as motionless as figures in a painting. They remained there as long as the flag atop the chariot was visible, even until they could no longer see the dust raised by the chariot wheels. Ta nirasha nivrivirtur govinda vinirvatvartane vishoka ani ninyo gayantya priyacheshritam. The gopis then turned back without hope that Govinda would ever return to them. Full of sorrow, they began to spend their days and nights chanting about the pastimes of the beloved. See here, Shukdev Goswami used the name Govinda. Govinda means one who pleases the senses, and gopis are in complete sorrow. What kind of Govinda is he? But he had to leave them. Bhagwan api samprapto Rama krura yuto nripa rathena vayu vegena kalindim aganashinim. My dear king, the supreme Lord Krishna, traveling as swiftly as a wind in that chariot with Lord Balram and Akrura, arrived at the river Kalindi or Yamuna, which destroys all sins. Srila Jiva Goswami comments that Lord Krishna secretly lamented his separation from the gopis. These transcendental feelings of the Lord are part of his supreme pleasure potency. And as we studied how gopis, they just absorbed themselves, begin to spend their days and nights chanting about the pastimes of their beloved. And that's all they did. Tatropasprisya paniyam pitam mrisht mani prabham vriksha shandam upavrajya sa ramo ratham aveshat. The river's sweet water was more effulgent than brilliant jewels. After Lord Krishna had touched it for purification, he drank some from his hand. Then he had the chariot move near a grove of trees and climbed back on, along with Balaram. Akruras tavu upamantrya niveshya cha rathopari kalendya hridam agatya snanam vidhivad acharat. Akrura asked the two lords to take their seats on the chariot. Then, again, taking their permission, he went to a pool in the Yamuna and took his bath as enjoined in the scriptures. Nimajya tasmin salile japan brahma sanatanam taviv dadrishe akruro rama krishno samanvito. While immersing himself in the water and reciting eternal mantras from the Vedas, Akrura suddenly saw Balram and Krishna before him. So he was in the water in Yamuna, and that place is now known as Akrura Ghat. And actually, that is considered the boundary of Vrindavan. Then Mathura starts. And it is said that Krishna and Balram never left that place. Means they did not cross the boundary. So Shyam Sundar Krishna or Yashodanandan Krishna and Balram, they stayed back. Vasudev Krishna and Sankarshan or Anand Shesh Balram, they left Vrindavan. Because it is said, Vrindavan Tyaja Pada Ekam Na Gachati. Krishna never leaves, not even it doesn't even step outside Vrindavan. Krishna means Shyam Sundar Krishna now. The same Krishna which Vasudevji brought to Gokul, that Krishna left. But Yashodanandan Krishna stayed back. तो रथस्थो कथम इहि सुताव आनक दुन्दुभे तरहि स्फीति स्यन्दने नस्त इति उन्मज्जय व्यचष्ट सह तत्रापि च यथा पूर्वम् आसीनो पुनरेव सह न्यमज्जन् दर्शनं यन्मे मृषा किं सलिले तयो. Akrura thought, how can the two sons of Anak Dundubi who are sitting in the chariot be standing here in the water? They must have left the chariot. But when he came out of the river, there they were seen on the chariot, just as before. Asking himself, was a vision I had of them in the water an illusion? Akrura re-entered the pool or the water. Bhuyastrapi swadrakshi adrakshi stuya mana maheshwaram siddhacharana gandharver asurera natakandhara sahasrashirasam devam sahasrapana molinam nilambaram visashvetam shranga shvetam eva sthitam. There Akrura now saw Anand Shesha, the Lord of the Serpents, receiving praise from Siddhas, Charans, Gandharvas and demons who all had their heads bowed. The personality of Godhead whom Akrura saw had thousands of heads, thousands of hoods and thousands of helmets. His blue garment and his fair complexion, as white as the filaments of a lotus stem, made him appear like white Kailash mountain with its many peaks. So that was, he saw Darshana Balramji as Anand Shesha. Tasyota Sange Ghanashyamam Pita Koshaya Vasasam Purusham Chaturbhujam Shantam Padma Patrarunekshanam Charu Prasanna Vadanam Charu Hasa Nirikshanam Subhru Nasam Charu Karanam Sukopala Runadharanam Pralamba Pivara Bhujam Tunga Sora Stalashriyam Kamupakantham Nimnabhim Valim Matapallavodaram. Akrura then saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead lying peacefully in the lap of Lord Anand Shesha. The complexion of that Supreme Person was like a dark blue cloud. He wore yellow garments and had 4 arms and reddish lotus petal eyes. His face looked attractive and cheerful with its smiling, endearing glance and lovely eyebrows, its raised nose and finely formed ears, and its beautiful cheeks and reddish lips. The Lord's broad shoulders and expansive chest were beautiful, and his arms long and stout. His neck resembled a conch shell, his navel was deep, and his abdomen bore lines like those on a banyan leaf. Brihat kati tat shroni karabhor udvayanvitam charu janu yugam charu janga yugal samyatam tunga gulfa runa nakha vrata dhiter dhirvritam navangulya gunshta dalera vilasat pad pankajam. He had large loins and hips, thighs like an elephant's trunk, and shapely knees and shafts. His raised ankles reflected the brilliant effulgence emanating from the nails on his petal-like toes, which beautified his lotus feet. Sumahara Mani Vrata Kirita Katakan Gadat Kati Sutra Brahma Sutra Hara Nupur Kundala Brajamanam Padmakaram Shanka Chakra Gadadaram Srivatsa Vakshasam Brajat Kostuvam Van Malinam adorned with the helmet, bracelets, and armlets, which were all bedecked with many priceless jewels, and also with the belt as sacred thread, necklaces, ankle bells, and earrings. The Lord shone with dazzling effulgence. In one hand, he held the lotus flower, in others a conch, a discus club. Grazing his chest was the Shrivatsa mark, the brilliant coast of gem, and a flower garland. सुनंद प्रमुख है पर्षद सनकादि भी सुरेशर ब्रह्म रुद्राद्य नवभिष्ट द्वितीयोत्तम है प्रहाद नारद वसु प्रमुख है भागवतोत्तम है स्तूयम मानम पृथक भावेर वचोभिर अमलात्म भी श्रिया पुष्टया गिरा कांत्या कीर्त्या तुष्टयेर लयोर्जया विद्यया विद्यया शक्त्या मायया च निषेवितम्. Encircling the Lord and worshipping him were Nanda, Sunanda, and his other personal attendants, Sanak and other Kumaras, Brahma, Rudra, and other chief demigods, the 9 chief Brahmins, and the best of the saintly devotees, headed by Prahlad, Narad, and Uparichara Vasu. Each of these great personalities was worshipping the Lord by chanting sanctified words of praise in his own unique mood. Also in attendance for the Lord's principal internal potencies, Shri, Pushti, Gir, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti, Ila, and Urja, as were his material potencies, Vidya, Vidya, and Maya, and his internal pleasure potency, Shakti. So everybody was there worshipping him and paying obeisances to the Lord. Vilokya subhrisham prito bhaktya paramaya yuta harishyat tanuraho bhava pariklinatmalochana gira gadgadyastoshi sattvam alambya sattvata pranamya murthana vahita kritanjali putashana. As a great devotee, Akrura beheld all this, became extremely pleased and felt enthused with transcendental devotion. His intense ecstasy caused his barley hairs to stand on end and tears to flow from his eyes, drenching his entire body. Somehow managing to steady himself, Akrura bowed his head. Then he joined his palms in supplication and in a voice choked with emotion, very slowly and attentively began to pray. So thus ends the purport to 10th canto, 39th chapter of Bhagavatam, entitled Akrura's Vision. So tomorrow we'll start the next chapter, Prayers of Akrura. Any questions or comments? Okay, so we'll stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.